yes. You know what it is. Listen, it's telling me that you are now live. Welcome to another Gridiron Games. Welcome all are welcome. I am your host, Tony the Tycoon. Listen, man, we usually do something where we're interviewing others, but today I'm going to talk to the people. But before we do that, I do not own the rights to this music, but you are now listening to the smooth grooves of Mr. Mac Miller, RIP to the great one. Self-care, because self-care is important. So with that being said, let that thing ride a little bit. Yeah. Listen, man, y'all can tell I'm in a good mood. So, man, how was y'all weekend? How y'all been doing? How's everything going? Excellently excellent, wonderfully well, phenomenally phenomenal, too best to be stressed. And if you was, you probably shouldn't be telling nobody because they don't care about your problems. They're probably glad you got them anyway. But with that being said, we got to jump right into it. So with that being said, what I want to talk about is purpose in the pressure, right? Unlocking what pain was sent to reveal. All right. Unlocking what pain was sent to reveal. So here we go. Have you ever been through a season where nothing made sense, where the pain was heavy, the pressure was nonstop, and you started questioning why me? I've been there. But what if I told you that pain wasn't a punishment? It was part of the process. See, Romans 8:18 says the suffering we go through now doesn't even compare to the glory that's coming. So what's the translation? There's something on the other side. So what I want us to understand is this, that even though we have issues, even though we go through adversity, that pressure is preparing us for our purpose. So today what we're going to do is we're going to dive into why your purpose is greater than your pain. But we're not stopping there. We're going to talk about how to find your purpose, how to walk in it, and how to share it with other people that you were created to impact. So let's roll. All right. So with that being said, let's start with Joseph, the story of Joseph, right? We all know Joseph had a dream, but the road to that dream, it was rough. He was betrayed by his family, thrown into a pit, sold as a slave, falsely accused, locked up and forgotten. But that pain had a purpose, because Joseph didn't just rise to power. He became the deliverer for an entire nation. And he told his brothers at the end of all of that suffering that he went through, that what you meant for evil, God meant for good. So let me say this clearly. Your pain is often the place where your purpose is born. Now, here's something that I want you to hold on to. We're all made of the same essence, spirit. But our paths, our roles, our assignments, they are different. See, when you weren't made just to exist. You were made to impact. But to do that, you got to find your lane. There's a person that I listened to by the name of Myron Golden, and he said something that was very profound. And I've actually adopted this principle. But what he said is your purpose is found at the intersection of your proficiency and your calling, right? So what does that mean? Your purpose is found through your proficiency and your calling. What are you good at? What were you born to do? Some of y'all are gifted on the field, others in business, some in ministry. But when you find that intersection, that's that purpose. When you find the intersection of proficiency in your calling, that's purpose. That's purpose, right? So here's 2 lessons we can learn from Joseph's journey. The detour doesn't cancel the dream. Your pain is preparation for the platform you're called to stand on. So let me ask you, what part of the story looked like the end? What part of your story looks like the end, but it's actually shaped who you are? That's where discovery begins. That's where discovery begins. And so while we're looking to discover ourselves, let's shift to preparation, right? David was a shepherd boy. We all know the story of King David, right? But here's a little twist on it. Let's get some insight. What was he? He was the youngest in his family, not the likely choice. But while everyone else was looking for the part, David was becoming the part. He was out in the fields, fighting lions and bears, so that when he stepped up to the challenge that Goliath had put in front of Israel, he didn't just reach for someone else's armor. He used what he knew he was accustomed to. That was his sling and the stones. Those were the weaponry that he had been preparing with his entire life. That's what he understood. That's what he knew. Listen, you don't have to look like anyone else to be powerful. You just have to use what's in your hand. And this is where we move from discovery to defining our purpose. You've got gifts, strengths, insights, but defining your purpose means owning your identity, claiming your uniqueness, sharpening what makes you, you. There was an athlete that played at the University of Tennessee. He's a famous speaker now, inspirational speaker by the name of Inky Johnson. And he said the process is more important than the product. You might be in the process right now, but don't despise it. That's where your purpose is being defined. So let's write down 3 things that you're good at. And I want you to ask yourself, who needs what I carry? That's where you start to define your purpose. Now, when we talk about faith, you'll once discover and define your purpose once you start to walk boldly in your faith. David didn't just walk into the battlefield. He declared victory before the fight even started. He said, "This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands." I'm going to tell you that's faith, man. Faith says, I don't have all the answers, but I trust the one who called me. And here's what I need you to catch. Faith is the thing that gives you the boldness to step where others back down. I'll say that again. Faith is the thing that gives you the boldness to step where others back down. Right? Like purpose without faith will leave you stuck in fear. And I'll give you an example. We all know who Serena Williams is. She once said, I've grown the most, not from my victories, but from my setbacks. See, when you walk in your purpose, you're going to face setbacks, but faith says, I'm still built for this. I'm still in alignment with this. And no matter how something looks to me visually right now, how I see it right now, doesn't mean that's how it's going to be. And I'm going to continue to climb and continue to pursue and continue to push. Why? Because I have faith that that end that I'm expecting, I will get to that particular place. And this is where we move into deploying our purpose. See, you've discovered it. You've defined it. But now you have to deploy it. It's time to step up. It's time to show up on purpose every single day. You need to think about the area in your life where fear has been holding you back and ask yourself, is that God's gift to me? Because the last time I checked, he hasn't given us a spirit of fear. So if that spirit don't come to him, you got to identify where that spirit is coming from. But it doesn't just stop there, ladies and gentlemen. There's victory that comes. See, after David drops Goliath, what happens next? That army that was scared from this challenge, that one man that stood up and dropped the bully, so to speak, that whole army now had the faith and the zeal to rise up. You have to understand this. Listen, your win is not just for you. It's for everyone who's watching you. Because there's always someone watching you, someone who's one decision away from quitting, but gives your story or sees your story. And now they have hope again. So the final phase of purpose is distribution. So when we talk about those steps, after you've discovered your purpose, after you've defined your purpose, after you've deployed yourself into your purpose, you now have the responsibility to distribute that and to pour that onto others, to use your story, your wisdom, your journey to lift up somebody else. See, you got to understand what you go through is what you go through. You just have to make sure that you grow through. That growth is important. It's not only important to you, but it's important to others. It's important to others. See, Howard Schultz, he was a former Starbucks CEO. He said this. He said, you can't connect the dots perfectly, but you got to believe they'll lead you to something greater. You can't connect the dots perfectly, but you got to believe that they'll lead you to something greater. They'll lead you to something greater. So when victory comes, don't hide it. Share it. Use it. Multiply it. Who's in your circle right now that could benefit from your victory? Who do you need to serve with your gift? Your pain is never random, ladies and gentlemen. It's the soil. It's the soil where your purpose is starting to grow. So, I want us to be reminded what we've walked through today. We have to discover our purpose by identifying what we're good at and what we're called to do. We define it by sharpening our gifts and owning our uniqueness. We deploy it by walking in faith, even when the path isn't clear. We distribute it by giving it away to serve others with the power of our journey. Your purpose is greater than your pain. So here's your call to action. I want you to look at the biggest challenge that you've ever faced, or even that you're facing now. And I don't want you to run from it. But what I want you to do is, I want you to prepare yourself for it. I want you not to shrink in fear, but I want you to stand in faith. And when victory comes, don't keep it to yourself. I need you to distribute that victory to somebody else so they can look at that victory as a breakthrough for themselves. See, because that in itself is tied to your obedience to God. We got to stop playing small, man. Like, don't you understand that you were designed to create impact? Don't you understand that you were made with intention? And your purpose is always going to be undefeated? You can never, ever, ever allow man or allow a situation to dictate who you are and whose you are and what you've been put on this earth to do. I've been where a lot of you guys are at. I've doubted. I thought it wasn't going to work. I thought, man, like, I'm doing all of this work and nothing seems to be working. But you know what I realized? I realized that all work works. All work works. So when you ask me, Tycoon, what do you mean all work works? I'm glad you asked. Here's what I mean by that. The work either works on you or it works for you. So until you become the person to whom the work can work for you, allow it to continue to work on you, because listen, that's how it works. See, we can never produce anything extrinsically that we are not intrinsically. We can only produce that extrinsically, which we are intrinsically. And what we have yet to realize is that when we find ourselves in those adverse moments, that is the Most High's way of sharpening us, of building us, and allowing us to understand that we don't control anything except the decision to continue to press forward, even when it seems as though nothing is working. That, my friends, that, ladies and gentlemen, that, young lions, that is what faith is about. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Meaning what? Meaning that I'm hoping for this particular thing, even though I cannot see it. And it is that hope and it is that faith that drives me. Even when I feel like something is not doing what I want it to do, it is doing what it is supposed to do. We have to stop putting our expectation on what we believe this thing is supposed to be doing. We are servants. We are the clay. He is the potter. The clay can't tell the potter how to form the pot. All you can do is allow the potter to shape you and to form you and to fashion you in which his purpose is for your life. And here's the beautiful thing about alignment. When you align with the divine, everything else is fine. What do I mean when I say that? I mean this. When your will matches the will of your heavenly Father, life becomes very simple. See, I've sat back and identified what my purpose is: to give subtlety, skill, and knowledge to the simple and to the youth. I do that by way of financial management, but also mentorship. That is what I've been put on this purpose, on this planet to do. And to help them to discover their purpose. And it took me years to figure that out. But once I realized, I'm very proficient at being able to touch the hearts of young brothers. And every day I wake up, I'm like, man, I just really want them to get it. Like, even if I wasn't making money for this would still be my mission. I've been able to reflect on my life and see I've always been in spaces of service, and I've always been in a place to where I wanted to lift others up. That's the reason I traveled to Miami, to congratulate my brother on his retirement after 12 years. And now my life is blessed because I get to hear his story. I sat next to a man in a locker room for years and didn't even know the background of the things that he had been through just to get to the journey that he's been on. So my life was blessed being in that particular space. And I was in that particular space because I only wanted to be there, not to, go and network and not to, meet different people. That wasn't the idea. Although that happened, that wasn't the idea. I went there with one reason and one reason only, so that I can hug my brother and say, congratulations, man, I'm proud of you. That's what I went there for. And I left with so much more. I left with a deeper understanding of what Teron Armstead has been through in his life. I left with a deeper understanding of how Teron Armstead has always been a fighter. I left with a deeper understanding when we would have those locker room talks and I'm seeing my brother walk on one leg, but still wanting to get out on the field and compete. I understood it now. And all of that came into fruition because I followed my purpose, which is to serve others in the best way that I can. The way I was able to serve that brother, and I'm giving you guys an example of how this works. The way I was able to serve that brother was simply with my presence. He asked for my presence to be there, and I obliged. It was that simple. Guys, sometimes you can be a blessing to others. Come on, Lord. Sometimes you can be a blessing to others just by showing up. But don't just show up as what people believe you're supposed to be, and don't show up what you believe that people think you're supposed to be. Show up authentically you every single time. Every time. I am where I am because I am authentic to who I am. I know that there are people that are for me, and I know that there are people that are not for me. And I know that I will not waste a moment of my life for those that are not for me. Because those that are for me, the mission is too important for me to be worrying about those that aren't. So I pray that you guys will gain something from this. Today's not going to be a long one. Today I'm going to wrap it up early because I want to make sure that the words that I speak have impact. I'm not here to try to be impressive, but I am focused on being impactful. So if just one person gets something out of what has been said here today, I'm cool with it. I'm unequivocally straight. Because that's why I do it. It's not for the clicks. It's not for the likes. It's for somebody to say, hey, T, which is what I got at the place, at the retirement party. Man, I've been watching what you've been putting out, bro. Keep going. I'm gaining something from that. I'm going to keep going, bro. I'm going to keep going, sis. Why? Because I need for people to understand that you are wonderfully made, that you're formed and fashioned for a purpose. And once you discover your purpose, you define your purpose, you deploy yourself into that purpose, I need you now to distribute that out to others. And maybe by doing that, if we can't make the world a better place, at least we can make the surroundings of which we affect other people a better place. So I hope you guys got something from that. Love y'all with the love of Christ. It's your man, Tony the Tycoon. Run well, young lions. I'm out.